Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. I am your host, Chet Sears, with my friend Matt Amos and my brother-in-law, Troy Three-Shot Trussell. He's also my friend.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Yes.
Found it. Noggin.
See ya. We are a practical and realistic group of guys that are glad you're listening today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Today, we're going to find out what's on Troy's mind. He's going to school us on that. The foreshadowing.
No pun intended.
Our top 3 action movies. This is going to be... I think there may be a little bit of debate around this.
Yeah, there might be because, I did some research and I just want to say Rotten Tomatoes.
Stinks. I looked at theirs too.
Terrible.
We'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I couldn't believe it. Were you in here when I was talking about that?
Yeah, I was in here, and I their number one action movie is.
Okay. We're gonna get to that later. After we hear what's on Troy's mind, and then after the top 3, Matt's gonna close us out with a good word. Troy, let's go, man.
All right. So, back in the day when I was in school, I thrived in like social settings. So school was basically, it was just fun for me, right? Making friends came natural, being around people was fun, But when it came to learning, that was a different story. But although I was fortunate enough not to be labeled like with a learning disability or anything, I still had some problems when it came to learning or taking tests or that sort of thing. Tests were really hard. They're still hard for me. The last test I had to take was the FAA drone certification pilot's test. I studied for 6 months, and after just numerous practice tests, after I lost count. I finally had enough. Like, okay, I'm going to go take this test. I think I can pass it.
Yeah.
And I did. I was able to pass that one with flying colors. I guess it's been 3 years now. But yeah, so things like that are still hard for me. So retaining knowledge, when I just have to read something,
right.
I have a hard time retaining that knowledge.
Okay.
So I've learned later in my life that I'm better at
doing something to retain things.
Doing something to retain it, or visually, like seeing pictures and seeing video, things like that help me learn a lot better than just reading text. And even reading a book, even here recently, I've signed on Audible and I love it because if I hear things over and over, I'm more likely to retain them than if I just read lines on a page.
Yeah.
Because I'm a mind wanderer, right? So I was never really given an opportunity to learn a different way or given the time to catch up with other students if I was behind. So I would get, one-on-one here and there with a teacher if I was a little slower in a subject. I remember math. I remember one day, I think we were doing long division or something. It just finally clicked one day, and I had this moment in the classroom where I was like, I get it, you know, and the teacher was, praised me for it, and she was an awesome teacher, and it was just a good step, but I just remember still being a little behind not everybody, but just kind of average, I guess. So then, through school, you take all the necessary exams that categorize me into a system that's considered, the appropriate way for children to learn, which is K through 12.
Yeah.
Whether it be public, private, or that's kind of the set standard.
Like a classroom with 20 students
or more. I mean, now like public schools are closer to 30, 35 students, depending on where you are and what region you're in and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it can be difficult, especially I think I was blessed because I did go to private school from K through 8 and had probably more one-on-one time because there were less students.
Yeah.
And we see that with our kids now. We have 2 kids in private school and one kid in a special learning school because he has dyslexia, and he's in a group which is 4 kids, so they get really good hands-on one-on-one with their teacher. So now, talking about that as a father of 5 children, I'm seeing, some of these struggles that I had play out in them. But as an adult, I'm able to kind of see that a little clearer than I was as a kid because I didn't know any better, right? Didn't know any different. So I'm kind of seeing and been thinking about the educational system, especially the public, because we have been in public school before with our kids, and that's where we started noticing a lot of issues that they were having. That's why we moved them to private school. But I've just noticed that it's a broken system that can fail kids over and over if things aren't done and it's not caught, if parents don't have means to do other things. It's just not helping our kids. The system also is set to label kids for disabilities that they may not truly have, but they're labeled with a certain disability if they're, in quotes, starting to fall behind the norm. So do I believe that the system is needed and that it benefits some kids? Absolutely. I think it does. But I'm not naive enough to believe that there's a one-size-fits-all way for schooling. And that's kind of how our system is set up.
You're talking like public school system in general or just K through 12 in general?
Public system mostly, but K through 12. I mean, so if you look at the private schools, the private school that my kids go to is a K through 12. It's actually harder for my kids because they're pride themselves on being a little bit better than the public school system. Mm-hmm. So they're a little more advanced, a little ahead of the public school system learning in their curriculum. So our daughter went from being behind in first grade to going to the private school. They asked us for her to repeat first grade. And so we did that. But ever since then, she's been falling behind in math. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's just another one of those deals where it's like she's just kind of getting left behind, but she's not getting the adequate one-on-one time that she needs. She is getting it more than I believe she would in a public system, mm-hmm. but she's just not getting it. Or maybe she's just learning slower than others,
right?
And that can certainly be the case. But yeah, I don't think it's the only way or should be the only way. I wish there were more alternative systems.
Homeschool.
Homeschool is another one. So what I had written down in my notes was, what I just talked about. Most private schools fit kind of the same model as the public K through 12. But yeah, homeschool is the other alternative.
Yeah.
But, when you look at public school is basically for especially for parents that have to work or that choose to work, both parents, public school is like just the cheapest form of babysitting.
Yeah.
Basically, just send your kids to public school. They can get an education, and while you two still go to work, have to work, or
right.
Yeah. So yeah, but my wife and we're in the beginning stages of just kind of challenging assumptions with this. The assumption being that all kids need a K through 12 education. The assumption that kids learn certain things at certain times and are considered slow or having a disability if they don't meet that standard. Kids get labeled slow and falling behind if they don't meet the standards, and most get labeled these days. We've done some research, and most get labeled with a disability they may not have, but we do know firsthand, that ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, I don't know how you say it, but it has to do with math. We know firsthand that those things are real and that that people really do have learning disabilities. But did you know when they came out with Common Core, when they first introduced it into the system, I can't remember what year, but that year learning disabilities spiked because they weren't giving kids ample time to adjust to the new curriculum. They were just lumping them in.
They can't do it.
They can't do it. They're not smart enough, so they're quote unquote falling behind, and so they lumped them into some kind of disability.
Yeah,
which is just, to me, that's a broken system.
Well, who sets the standards? Like these standards that the kids are supposed to learn what by when?
So do you mean the curriculum or the testing?
Well, the testing drives the curriculum, right?
Right. So the testing is all private industry. Industries create these tests for students, and I've done my research. It's a $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't think they care too much about the testing and how far it's getting. Educating the kids and helping them grow to where they need to be in life, but more so they're just making their money.
So who's making their money?
The private companies that make the tests that are issued in public.
But who requires schools to use the private testing?
Nobody that I know of requires
the federal government.
Well, the federal government for public schools, but even private schools are using these as well.
Because private schools are funded by
the people that go to the schools.
And they give, it may not be funded.
Charity?
They could be. No, they can't be listed as a school unless they meet certain standards. So you can't even be a private school unless you meet these government standards.
Well, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, so you got to dig back. I think the downfall of the public school system is government involvement. They dole out money, and the money is doled out based on whether or not that school is quote unquote effective. They use metrics of test scores to find out whether or not they're effective. And then if you don't hit these certain test scores, then you're not going to get as much funds. But then you also have to go to the school of the district that you live in. So typically the districts that you live in are going to be funded based on the taxes of that area. So if you have a low income, low business, low everything else, then you're not getting as much money as a school in a ritzy part of town would be getting. And you've got issues because you're not going to get a whole lot of teachers wanting to go teach in an underfunded school. But that has to do with the standardized testing, which has to do with government regulations.
Isn't that why they instituted, like the back when I was a kid, like the busing? I know that was a big issue back when I was a kid, to get
bussed in from different locations.
Yeah, different locations to wherever, so, lower income could go to what would be considered, I guess, a better school. And then some of those wealthier neighborhoods would go to a lower income area.
I'm guessing.
I don't know. I don't know
I
if that was
taking any of that, so I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what the measurement was on how successful that was, but
I don't know. So what are some solutions? What do you think?
Well, for us, we're just trying to figure out if homeschool, we're asking ourselves, why are we sending our kids to school, to a K-12 system, education system, and what are our goals for these kids with the K-12 system, and is it best for them?
Yeah.
Just a few weeks ago, we found out that our daughter has an eye issue that if she goes to school at 8:00 and they're doing nothing but reading or math or looking at stuff in books all morning for 2 hours, by 10 a.m., her eyes are shot. She's done.
Yeah.
Like she starts getting double vision and all kinds of stuff for the rest of the day. And so that that impairs her learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she has basically a disability with her eyes.
Yeah.
And so is an all-day learning in that atmosphere, is that all-day learning like that?
Right.
Is that good for her? And is there another alternative? And the alternative that we're looking at is homeschool.
I think, well, and you can go back. There's studies with the modern school system and even riddling with boys that they're young, they want to be moving, they don't need to be sitting at a desk 6 hours a day, but you turn around and you start drugging kids so they can fit into that mold.
Right, you
start being in a classroom all day and not.
You start just messing with the chemicals, in their body to make them react or act the way that they're supposed to.
There's a couple of proposals that are out there. Is so you're taxed whether or not you go to private school or public school or you homeschool,
right?
Or you don't have any kids at all. You're taxed where you live to provide for the public school system. There have been a couple of bills that have been proposed. I don't think any of them have been passed enough to even get, I don't know if they've made it out of committee or whatever else, but the dollar amount that would be attached to your kid's head, quantity wise, not, but say a student in this school district is 1,000 of those tax dollars. It's actually more than that, but we will write you a check for $1,000 as a parent. You use that $1,000 however you want to educate your kid. If that's to send them to the public school, then you owe that school $1,000. If you want to send them to a private school, you use that $1,000 for your private school. If you want to homeschool, you use that $1,000 for materials and whatever else for the homeschooling. So it's the tax money that you currently get today, but it would not go to the public school. It would go with the student, which I think is a fantastic idea.
I love it.
Because that would create something that doesn't exist in the school system today, which is competition. We live in a certain school district. My kids have to go to those schools. So if my school of the district that I lived in would not get the money from my child, if my child didn't go there, would that school be doing more to attract students?
Absolutely.
What more could they be doing to attract students? Like, if you're a school administrator, what would you want to do to have the parents saying, I want your kid, hey parent, this is why you need to come to my school. This is why you need to, what will be some of those things for you? You need more one-on-one time. You need not sitting at a desk staring at a screen or a book.
Yeah, I need my boys to get up and run around.
Yeah.
More. Yeah.
I mean, what would you look for, Matt?
I honestly don't know. I'm fortunate enough not to have these issues where I've had to think about them.
For now. That could change very suddenly.
It could, but I'm extremely happy with our district where my kids go. And again, we moved directly back there for the sole purpose for them to go to this school.
Well,
and it is, they are public schools, and, even my, one of my daughters had issues with math. Same thing, it was extremely difficult for her. But it kind of was for me back in school too, when we're talking about anything above algebra, was just like, I don't get it. It just didn't click with me.
Right.
But what we've done for her is, instead of that more one-on-one time, she would be tutored at home 3 times a week, and we would hire a tutor to come in and teach that, or she would spend time after school with a tutor, whatever it was. And so that's how we overcame those challenges, and now she's fine, and so that's always an option as well, as bringing in a tutor that articulates in a way that they understand. And it just happened to be, and I don't know if it's been the whole time, but one of my wife's cousins, is a math teacher. And so he would come over and help her, and being family, and just, he had a bunch of different ways that he could relay that information. And so I think that, that tutoring would be key. And some of the programs like, with what my kids, where my kids go now, there's just all kinds of different, I even remember back when I was in school, it was kind of cutting edge. Computers were just starting to come out, like actual, like internet and all that kind of stuff. And, we had a technology lab where we would go and we'd learn how to do video editing, or we'd learn how to do, we'd actually build computers, and so it was almost kind of like a technical school inside of our school, where you're learning these different things. We had flight simulators, and then we had people come from whatever, the Spartan School of Aeronautics, and talk about, hey, why don't you come to flight school, learn to fly and be a pilot and do all this kind of stuff. And so there was the school system that we're in is just always kind of cutting edge. And that's, I guess, if you're asking, I guess that's what would attract me is, how are we actually, and they care about the students, so how do we actually prepare these students for what's out there? And then, we've just got a really strong community. We've elected a really good board. And so, and the people that we have making those decisions are the people that
I could tell you, I think COVID brought along a lot of issues that people that had run for school boards weren't prepared to deal with. And also identified, for us, like we had a lot of stuff to be desired with our school board and how they reacted with COVID and what the focus was. It immediately went from, I moved to my school district specifically when I moved from here, from out of state. I did some research and said, I want to live in the school district. And in the 14 years that we've been here, there has been a decline, and that decline actually came in just about the last 4 years. And I could tie it to what I believe to be a few specific things. And one of those would be a weak school board. Administration is just a bigger issue. But, heck, I read a post on Twitter, I don't know, in the last few days. One of the guys I followed was the school board guy in 259, which is the Wichita district, which none of us have kids in the Wichita school district. But he's like, by the way, I got voted out. So it was a Twitter account. And he's like, so I've been posting as a board member on this Twitter account. I'm going back to being just me. So if you don't want to find out what's going on in my life, you might as well unfollow me right now, because I'm not going to be tweeting about school board stuff anymore. By the way, I was the last person that served on the school board that actually had kids in school. So now apparently 259 school board is run by people that aren't parents that have kids in 259 schools.
Right.
So, which is, I would be alarmed if I was in 259. That would weird me out.
Yeah.
Because what we had on our board, and which changed in the last election too, was people that had just done it because nobody else wanted to do it, and I've been doing it for decades and whatever else. And I think the other thing, like the tutor that you're talking about, if you had your voucher and this person's like, well, you know what? If you give me I could take 15 students on and personally teach them everything, then they could quit teaching a public school job and go, and I just have, it's Mrs. Jones that is my teacher. And she's responsible for my kids' education, and she gets funded privately through that. That's something else that you could do. And then you don't have a homeschool, you don't have a private school, you just have a private teacher, and they may have a few students that do different things. Who knows? But I think whenever you get standards, you're automatically saying, well, we're just targeting the middle part of the bell curve for education or for anything, like for healthcare. Like if we have a board certified doctor, okay, what does that mean? Well, that doctor took a test. That doctor still could kill you because they forgot something or didn't think of something or was just lazy, right?
Not every one of the doctors can be the best. Somebody graduated at the bottom of the class.
Yeah. Yeah. And who's to say just because you graduated from that, you're good? You know, I mean, really, you may have bad bedside manner. You may not care about your patients. I'm a good test taker and I'm making a lot of money, you know? So whenever you do say, hey, we're going to have a standard and we're going to apply it across this country, which is what we have done in the US, you're targeting the middle of that bell curve, and you're going to have students on the one side of that bell curve that are completely left out, and you're going to have students on the other side of that bell curve that are completely left out. And we all know, you being in private school and public school, you went to public school and high school. Yep. I'm a public school kid. You're a public school kid. Your teachers in the classroom, some of them are awesome. Some of them are mediocre, and some of them are horrible. They're all getting paid the same.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That you can't recruit, hire, and pay the best of the best. Because whatever you're paying the best, you're also paying the worst. And that creates a system that thrives on mediocrity. Because over time, those best of the best teachers are going to get worn down.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up all averaging around the bottom of the barrel.
Or they're going to transfer and they're going to find a better school to go to. Or
is there a better public school to go to?
What would be the incentive?
Right. To more money. I'm
better.
Getting paid more at that district over there, and that's where I'm going to go.
It's my job, and I care about kids, but I got to be paid to do it.
And you know what? The teachers that have been bad, and I've been horrible, and I'm no good, and I've got disciplinary issues, and I've been written up, but the union's making it where I can't get fired. Well, I'm going to stay here because I don't want to go there and have to go through all this again. I already know that I can't get fired here, and all the people that have all written me up know that they can't fire me, so I'm just going to be here too. It's a horrible system.
Broken.
So Troy's going to run for Congress and on the school improvement platform, and he's going to say, I want school vouchers for all my kids that could go public or private, or
I like that private teacher idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And your tax dollars will be you doing it. I mean, there's a few, I think,
or the homeschool.
Tim Lee, senator from, I can't remember where, Utah. Anyway, I think he has a bill that he's written like that's for this. Like, we just need to allocate, number one, stop the federal regulations and let this get back into the communities. And so they're not hitting the lowest bar that's out there, and then allowing more freedom for schools to do what they want to do in their own community. And number two, you ought to be able to, as a parent, take your tax dollars and apply it to the best way to educate your kids that your kid needs, not the overall model. And I'm not saying that we should or try to abolish the K-12 system. I think that would radically change the K-12 system, and it may turn out to be something that we could all get behind.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm always about having more freedom to choose what you want to do with your money and your kids.
Yep.
Awesome.
Having more choices instead of, hey, here's the cookie cutter program. Go.
All right. Now that we're all fired up about schools, we're going to take a break and then come back and talk about action movies.
Yes.
At Admiral's Pennant, our mission is to offer the latest and refined, high-quality masculine products and services to the modern gentleman, as well as provide him with the tools and products necessary to look, act, and feel confident in his appearance and social interactions. Check it out at admiralspennant.com. Without it, you might as well shave.
And we are back. Here we go. Top 3 action movies. Matt, you're going to go first.
Boom.
Fire away.
Number 3. Mark Wahlberg is a sniper.
Shooter. I just watched that the other night.
Did you?
Yeah, we did.
Good movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love that movie.
I'd seen it before, but it's been a long time, so.
It's a pretty, and that's the one I was actually just trying to figure out the name of, because I kept going back to the other one where he was a kind of a sniper dude.
Oh, not Behind Enemy Lines. That was Owen Wilson.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. It's the Mark Luttrell.
Lone Survivor.
Lone Survivor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Shooter is a fun movie.
It is. It's good.
It's like, you know,
It's got a good pace.
The even cooler thing about it the other night was I was tucking the kids in bed and I came in the room. Wife was already in bed. I was like, "Oh, what are you watching?" She's like, I remember watching this and it was pretty good. And I turned around. I was like, "We're watching Shooter? Sweet."
Yeah.
She picked it.
nice.
All but for the 2-liter bottle silencer. That was the stretch in the movie that I was like, come on.
It might work.
No, it won't.
I've never tried it.
No, I think you should.
It's only going to work once, but
It worked multiple times for him.
Yeah, it worked like 3 times.
As he was
for
on
him,
a
I
boat.
think.
because I'm
in a little canoe.
Yeah.
wasn't that a 22 that he was shooting? There?
Yeah. It was a 22.
So it might.
Yeah.
On the 22.
Yeah. You need to ask your dad about this. He was there. We were doing some eradication at the duck lease.
Yeah.
Of some rodents, and I popped off my little 22 revolver on the run, like we were motoring, trying to get close to it, and he was on a stump, and I was like, as soon as I feel like I got the shot, I'm going to take it because we get close.
Yeah,
we get close. He's gonna go in the water, you know. I'm pretty sure that was a long shot, and I stone cold hit that dude on the run with my little 22 revolver. I felt like Shooter. That was before Shooter came out. Maybe they got that from me.
I hit a coyote like that out of Jordan's truck. He was moving.
Yeah.
The coyote was moving. I shot my 30-06 out the truck, 75-yard shot.
Oh, in an open field, not anywhere near a road.
Correct.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of a field in a lease with roads miles away. Yeah. Nailed it. First shot.
Yeah.
We counted it off 75 yards. It was awesome.
Nice.
In the snow.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Shooter. Sorry,
number 3.
Yeah, and then I'd have to say, now that we were talking about that type of stuff, I would have to say an honorable mention would be Law Abiding Citizen. If you haven't seen that one.
Is that the Jamie Foxx?
Yep.
And
where he's a lawyer.
Gerard Butler.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one.
It's on the verge of an action.
It's an action movie. I just don't think it's not anywhere near my top 10.
I thought it was pretty darn good. Just the psychology,
The suspense.
Yeah.
The suspense part of it was good.
Yeah, the psychology behind all of it was pretty neat.
I'll have to watch it.
Number 2.
Don't watch it around your kids.
Yeah, it's not for kids.
Well, basically, all these movies probably aren't for kids.
Not my age kids. No.
Yeah.
I think Shooter would have been.
No.
No.
Hey, there's that scene with the woman.
Yeah.
What?
No.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
The dude that she shoots his private parts, empties a magazine into him because.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't even know your movies. Let's go, man. Number 2.
Number 2, y'all were trashing just before we hit record. But Mad Max Fury Road.
No.
I saw it one time in the theater. I don't even remember.
I haven't had a desire to see it.
It did not have a lasting impact on me, and I saw it in the theater. So I don't know.
Man, it was. I don't know how many times, and I think it may have been. I didn't see it in a theater, but kind of a theater. I was shopping for some home audio stuff.
Do you like it just because there's an amputee in it?
No.
Okay.
Furiosa, which she's getting her own movie, I guess, or it's already out, maybe. I don't know.
I got no clue.
But I watched it. I was looking for some home audio equipment, and I'd never, I kind of watched the first Mad Max with Mel Gibson and all that kind of stuff, and I really, they're okay.
I remember Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Tina Turner in that movie.
I was just young. It was pretty cool to watch,
but I sat in this theater room that they had set up, and just maybe it's the audio that comes with it is just incredible, and it makes you feel the movie. So, I mean, if you're in a theater, I don't understand how, maybe you're just looking at it from a spectator standpoint, but if you get immersed in the movie, it's so good.
So what you just said, I'm interpreting that as if you listen to any movie loud enough, it will be good.
Not any movie.
Well, that's basically what you said.
But this particular
the only reason
movie,
you didn't enjoy it because the theater audio was bad.
And it might have been. I don't. There's not many theaters out there now, like right now anyway, that
I don't even remember
some of the home audio stuff
when
is
that
just
came out
so much better.
to know when and where I saw it. I remember going to the theater because I remember thinking, oh, right, sequel to Mad Max, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I left there like, oh, that's pretty cool. It just didn't have a top rank for me.
But I mean, for an action movie, part of the action is the chase or the fight, you know, and
hey, it could be on your list. It's just not even.
And I'm telling you, just that
I didn't
sound,
get anywhere near mine.
that sound that
you're entitled to your opinion.
when they're driving, you know, and if you have the overhead speakers and then the side speakers, I mean,
I got
it's
all
awesome.
that. Oh, I still hadn't watched the movie.
It's awesome. You got to watch it just for the soundtrack. And then number 1, 13 Hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Oh, that made.
I mean, I think that
made
was
my top
war movie. Yeah.
Was it on mine? I think it was on mine too.
It might have been on yours too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fantastic movie.
But I can't have an action movie without 13 Hours. Because I've not been there, but kind of lived that a little bit, and so it hits a little bit closer. Right. Being able to watch it and just some of the little things that you catch on to that a lot of people probably wouldn't. So I really like that movie. That's my number 3.
All right.
Or number 1.
All right, I'll go. I'm going with an honorable mention. You threw one in at the last minute. Bourne Identity.
Okay.
Number 3, John Wick.
I thought for sure that was going to be on Matt's list.
Which one?
John Wick, the first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
I couldn't really get into the first one or the second one, but that third one.
Third one was my second favorite.
I really liked the third one.
Yeah. With the dogs.
With the dogs. Yeah.
But as far as action goes, I mean, that's just a great action movie and executed well. The cinematography, the realistic, somewhat unrealistic, but I mean, they actually reload their guns. That's the realistic part. And
Keanu Reeves has done a lot of training in that too.
Yeah, he's done some fantastic stuff. Yeah. So anyway, that's my number 3. My number 2, another Keanu Reeves movie, The Matrix.
Yep.
I just
phenomenal action movie.
Fantastic. The scenes, the fighting, the visual effects. I mean, knocked it out of the park. Number 1. You guys can take a wild guess. Red Dawn. It's the best movie of all time.
No.
And it's an action movie, so naturally it's the best action movie ever made.
Not even close.
Disagree, but you are entitled to your opinion as well.
Speaking of, before we get to you, Troy, we before commercial break, we talked about how crazy Rotten Tomatoes was.
Right.
On their
top 100 list is terrible.
I can't.
Like more than half of them are not even, should not be.
I kind of paid attention to Rotten Tomatoes. Like, does this movie have a good Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, never again will I.
This ruined Rotten Tomatoes for me. Number 1 best action movie of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes, Black Panther. Number 2, Avengers Endgame. Number 3, Mission Impossible.
I don't even have
Fallout. No, it's not.
Like, and none of the Mission Impossible would make my top 10.
Number 21,
no.
Baby Driver.
I don't even know what that is.
It doesn't sound like an action movie.
No.
It sounds like a family comedy.
Family Nintendo game. That's what it sounds like.
Up. The movie Up. Good movie. Not an action movie.
They called that an action movie?
Number 25.
Not an action
According
movie.
to that, it's better than...
That's a drama.
Oh.
Comedy/drama.
That's family.
It's family. There you go. Lump it in the family.
Because when I put action movies in Netflix, Up does not come up.
No, it shouldn't.
Rotten Tomatoes is horrible.
How do we put an end to that site? They're wrong.
I don't need to end the whole site, but
I do. They're wrong on so much.
The Lion King is on here.
Send the Terminator after him. That's an action movie.
That is an action movie.
T2 would probably make my top 10.
Does not make my top 10, but
T2, man, that was a great movie.
Yeah, I don't get it. John Wick Chapter 3, number 61, but Up is number 25.
Not even.
That's ridiculous.
They're not even in the same category.
Yeah, it's bad. That's bad.
Fix your game, Rotten Tomatoes.
I can't even.
Fix it now.
I can't even understand this.
All right, let me go.
No, we're going to go to the next movie website ratings and critique them.
Oh, okay.
You're going to have to wait.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding, man. Knock yourself out.
All right, I couldn't do this without some honorable mentions.
More than one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 5, but I'm just going to rattle.
5 honorable mentions?
Yeah, I couldn't put them in. Yeah, I couldn't.
Star Wars.
No.
4, 5, 6.
No, Star Wars isn't even on the list.
Okay.
That's fantasy, sci-fi.
Exactly. It's not an action movie.
All right. It's on Rotten Tomatoes action movies.
Because they suck.
Okay.
All right. Casino Royale.
Okay.
It's the first Bond movie with what's his face.
Okay.
Yeah. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I will tell you, I don't disagree with that, only if you have Skyfall ranked higher somewhere on your list.
No, I don't.
Because Skyfall is better than Casino Royale.
Well, I like Casino Royale the best because I like poker.
All right.
Shang-Chi
Which is not action. But go ahead.
and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably my newest movie and my only Marvel.
That was a pretty good one. I watched it just
It's like action.
not too long ago.
It's really good. Gone in 60 Seconds.
the first
That
one or the
almost
second
made
one?
it. Oh, yeah.
That's a fantastic movie.
Which one?
There's only one.
Nick Cage?
Yeah, there's only one. Gone in 60 Seconds. Now
Maybe you're
my
thinking
next honorable mention is Fast and Furious, and there's 9.
I'm definitely not thinking that. And I'm
9
not-
of those.
It's not on any of my list.
now the
Yours
first-
good is Rotten Tomatoes to me right now.
now the first one
The first one. That's what I'm
was-
saying.
was awesome.
Fast and Furious, the first one.
and Gone in 60 Seconds, because all those car movies kind of came around about
Yeah.
the same time.
And then my last honorable mention, Predator.
Yeah.
Man, I wore the tape out, the VHS on that one. That was phenomenal. All right.
Now see, Nick Cage used to be action,
Awesome. Action
guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if National Treasure kind of
I would consider that like action.
that's
That's probably action.
but that kind of put him on his way out, maybe,
maybe.
because I don't really remember anything past that, and I think maybe Snake Eyes was pretty bad,
I don't think I saw that one.
All right, guys.
but Con Air.
Gone in 60 Seconds too.
1974 is when Gone in 60 Seconds was first made.
Who was in that one?
They're always remakes.
H.B. Halicki, Marion Busia, George Cole, James McIntyre, Jerry Dargrita.
I am a little disappointed now that I know it's a remake. But, there's nothing new under the sun.
They changed some names and they changed the plot. But his business is stealing cars. When he goes to work, the excitement starts. He goes and goes and goes. See 93 cars destroyed in the most incredible chase ever filmed. There you go. Gone in 60 Seconds, 1974.
What was filmed? When was the Blues Brothers?
1979, I believe.
I wonder if that's the movie they were trying to beat the record.
They beat it.
Because they beat it
1980. They
destroying all
released
the
in 1980. Yeah.
that car scene, they just destroy everything on the highway. It's
Yep.
awesome.
There you go. So you learned something. I knew it was a remake, and you guys were like, "No, there's only one."
Well, I thought you were saying there was a part 2.
No, I'm saying that was a
No.
remake of another movie.
I don't doubt that.
Because when you
I
said
don't
Gone in
doubt that
60
one
Seconds,
bit.
and I was like, "Which one?" You're like, "There's only one." And I'm like, "No, there's not."
Yeah, I thought you meant like there was a part 2.
No.
But yeah, no. Well, they're always remaking stuff. I know.
So you said Gone in 60 Seconds, and then you said what?
Fast and Furious and Predator.
Predator, yes. Fast and Furious, no.
For you. I'm entitled to
For the
my
world.
opinion, Chet. I'm entitled to my opinion. I'll let you have your opinion.
I'll tell you what, our demographic of 15-year-old boys is very pleased with your selection of Gone in 60 Seconds.
All right, let's get to my real top 3. Are we ready? Number 3.
Predator's awesome.
Predator is awesome.
Yeah.
I ain't got time to bleed. I love it. All right, number 3, The Bourne Ultimatum.
Okay.
I went and saw it in the theater. I walked out of there exhausted
Yeah.
because it's just nonstop go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Love it. Number 2, Die Hard. Huh?
It's good. It's a good action movie. There's no way around it.
One of my favorites. Actually, number 2.
I'm shocked at how good your top 3 is considering your honorable mentions. But go ahead.
Right. And then number 1 is The Matrix.
Ah, sweet.
I drove to Monroe from Ruston to go see that, not knowing what we were going to go see. We were just like, hey, let's go to the movie. Didn't have a theater in town.
Yeah.
Drove 30 minutes to Monroe.
You did.
Well, no, it had already closed down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was a horrible one.
Yeah, it was.
Like you couldn't even sit next to somebody because there were so many broken chairs in there.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Because I think this was my sophomore year. It closed during my freshman year. And then, so we drove 30 minutes to Monroe. We're like looking at posters outside, like, oh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
None of us knew anything about it.
Blown away.
Went in and saw The Matrix.
Yeah.
When they
had you hooked
like,
at the Follow the White Rabbit.
Yeah. Blew me away. And then it ends with Rage Against the Machine. I was on cloud 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Phenomenal movie. Yeah. So there you have
Have
it.
you even seen The Matrix?
Oh yeah, the first one, the second one, and then it kind of tailed off for me after the third one.
Yeah.
But I thought the first one was incredible, and just not just solely for the action, but the kind of the process of we're in a computer program. Just
the thought, the plot was just.
Who to come up with that? You have to be outside the box thinking. And it's just.
Did you see the What's the Resurrection?
Resurrection, not yet.
I'm
going to go see it.
I'm seeing about 75-25, 75% saying it sucks, 25% saying it's pretty good.
I'll tell you what, the sole fact, because I was like, I really want to see this, but I'm like, I'm just not in a position, to go watch a movie right now with all the the holidays and all that kind of stuff we're going on. But after I was like watching all the previews, all the new trailer came out, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be cool. And then it came out, and I didn't have plans to go see it, and radio silent. Nobody's talking about it anymore. I'm like, oh, I bet it sucks. So then I start digging into it, and it's like, yeah, it sucks. Because the exact opposite for the Spider-Man.
Oh,
which I still haven't seen.
It's phenomenal. It's really good.
It was like, oh, this is pretty exciting. This is pretty exciting. And then my son went and watched it on Thursday.
You told me, he said it was like one of the greatest movies ever.
Like, and so he went Thursday night. Apparently, there used to be like a midnight showing. Well, now
they show it's all day.
Starts at like 4 or something in the afternoon. But anyway, he went and saw it that night, and then went again Friday night. Like he saw it back to back nights, and he's, I think, gone a third time, possibly.
Yeah.
But that was different in the fact there was a lot of buildup, and then when it released, that's all everybody was talking about. Well, then that new Matrix movie, there was a lot of buildup, and then it released, and nobody talked about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna wait till I could see this
for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might go see it just for the experience. But
I mean, the one movie, I guess, honorable mention.
I'll go see it with you if we could work that out on a schedule.
All right.
I don't go to theaters.
Shocker.
But I did, back in the day, I used to go because all my friends worked at the Warren.
Yeah.
And, we'd go catch a matinee or whatever, and the movie that I watched in the theater that still to this day, I guess, would be one of my top action movies. It didn't make my top 3, but Starship Troopers.
Yeah. That made your war movie list.
It did make my war movie list, but
yeah.
I love that movie. I don't know why I love it so much. It's just funny.
It's good.
Would you like to know more? It's so close to where we are today. It's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, you got a good word for us?
I do. And it's kind of funny as before we really launch into the good word. I did hear that NASA is actually, speaking of a movie that I watched a little bit ago, I think NASA actually tried to hire some theologians to figure out how people would react if they found aliens.
What did you find out about that?
I haven't heard any more. I just saw that that's what they did, and I'm like, technically we're all, Christians are supposed to be aliens to this world. So whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then it just kind of goes a little bit deeper. I mean, what are you doing there?
I'm showing him the article.
Oh, yeah. NASA hired 24 theologians to study human reaction to aliens. Wow.
From the New York Post.
I'd be interested to see who those theologians are. But anyway,
probably not the same definition of a theologian that you would pick.
Right. And that's that's kind of what I mean.
From the Universal Unitarian something or other.
So for
I believe in science.
The same place that you can get your certification to be an ordained minister,
right?
The Unitarian Church of whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that being said, the good word for today comes out of Luke 12:22, and it said, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, or what you will wear." And goes on to say, even though we're in a world of, disappointment and frustration, and this is kind of the writing of this devotional, this isn't the word. But Jesus reminded us not to worry about anything, and God is ready to take care of everything that we need in our daily lives. And he will help us survive the most difficult situations. And everything that we need, he will supply for us. And Philippians 4:19 says, and God will meet all of your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. And you should know that that life is worth more than all these material things. And what we should consider first and foremost is seeking God and his kingdom. And that comes out of Matthew 6:33. It says, but seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things will be given to you as well. So, there's a lot of problems out there, whether you're worried about aliens coming and how that's going to affect you, or, whether you,
happen.
A couple of podcasts ago, you got to, the whole Omicron coronavirus deal, you're stressing about that. Hey, God says, don't worry about it. He's got it, so.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that I have had with that, I'll say but I think we, as most, even believers, is we get our needs confused with our wants. And so when it's God saying that I'm going to provide for your needs, we consider that what I want is what I need.
So even in the survival stuff,
yeah.
If you're a prepper, what are the three things that you need to survive?
Water,
food,
shelter. Man, we're good as preppers.
You know it, but do you practice it? And
what do you mean?
Do you have
practice what?
Do you have all that stuff? Can you survive? So let's say that, oh man, God's going to provide for me, but my house just burned down.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are situations that happen that might make you question your faith or question God, or, oh man, he's mean,
Yeah.
But, there are things in my life where people would assume that I would have questioned my faith, and it actually made it stronger. So, and I think it's all about kind of that outlook and just seeking God first. Okay. And that was, and honestly, I'm not trying to make myself out to be more than I am, because I mean, I'm just me, I'm not a great person by any stretch. And so for me, but the first thing I did was laying on the ground, and I said, okay, if it's my time to go and I'm ready, if it's not, show me why it's not. And so seeking first what he wants and putting what he wants first, and not trying to put words into his mouth.
Yeah.
I think this is what he wants, and I did that for a few years, well, I didn't get blown up because of this, and this is why. Well, I don't know why, and I still don't know why. And I was thinking about that earlier today. It's like, well, what?
And you shouldn't necessarily seek for that. Just seek him.
Right. And it's like, okay, so what ultimately does he want me? Why am I here? Why does he want me here? And constantly looking for his purpose for me. And so that's kind of where today's good word came from.
Got it, man.
I like it.
That's good. That's really good. Okay. Well, let's take this thing on home.
You got it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Hardheaded Podcast. We're so excited that you joined us today. And if you would like to help us out, you could comment, like, share, subscribe, share,
all of the things.
comment. If you comment, your reply is going to come from Troy or from me because Matt doesn't do social media for us.
For a reason.
Because he wants to argue with whatever we answer.
I will still comment. It will just show up as me, not hard-headed.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
The drop.
It just sounds so much better when we do it that way.